Offer versus serve, or OVS, is a concept that applies to menu planning and the meal service. OVS allows students to decline some of the food offered in a reimbursable lunch or breakfast. The goals of OVS are to reduce food waste and to permit students to choose the foods they want to eat. Due to the fact that students may choose fewer selections under OVS, guidance is provided on what constitutes a reimbursable lunch and breakfast. Here are some commonly used abbreviations you will see throughout this presentation. OVS, which is the focus of our talk today, of course stands for Offer versus Serve. SFA is School Food Authority. NSLP stands for the National School Lunch Program. SBP is for the School Breakfast Program. CACFP is for the Child and Adult Care Food Program. SFSP is the Summer Food Service Program. USDA is the United States Department of Agriculture. And CEP is the Community Eligibility Provision. For a school utilizing Offer versus Serve, the student can decline any food component except part of the fruit or vegetable component. We will discuss the specifics of breakfast and lunch throughout this presentation. But as a general overview, students must select at least 3 food items at breakfast and at least 3 food components at lunch. This must include at least 1/2 cup of fruit or vegetable or a combination at each meal. Although not the focus of this presentation, OVS is optional for school food authorities providing meals through the at-risk after-school meals component of the Child and Adult Care Food Program, or CACFP. OVS is also optional for summer meals offered by SFAs through the Summer Food Service Program or the NSLP Seamless Summer option. OVS is not allowed in the after-school snack program. This presentation will focus on the National School Lunch Program and the School Breakfast Program. For more information about CACFP, SFSP, or after-school snack, you can contact the state agency or look for information directly related to these programs. School meals must be priced for the paid and reduced price categories as a unit. This means that one price is established for a complete reimbursable meal in the paid meal category, and one price is established for a complete reimbursable meal in the reduced price meal category. OVS does not affect the meal's unit price established by the SFA. Students who take 3, 4, or 5 food components for lunch, or 3 or more food items for breakfast, pay the same price. Please note that food components and food items are defined later in this presentation. The unit price is also not affected if the student selects the required serving sizes for 3 food components for lunch or 3 food items for breakfast, and also selects less than the required serving size of additional food components. Students, servers, and cashiers must be able to identify what constitutes a reimbursable meal. The NSLP regulation at 7 CFR 210.10A2 requires that schools identify near or at the beginning of the serving line what food constitutes unit-priced reimbursable meals. Schools using OVS must also identify what a student must select in order to have a reimbursable meal under OVS. Students and their parents or guardians need to be aware of what is included in school meals. Parents or guardians so that they can reinforce nutrition education messages at home, and students so they know how to select a reimbursable meal. Signage and menus should provide clear information about allowable choices. This will help students easily build a reimbursable meal and is especially important to avoid problems at the point of service. Schools are expected to conduct training for cashiers and serving line staff so they can help students select the required food components or food items in the quantities needed for reimbursable lunches and breakfasts. Annual training is required to meet the professional standards requirements. Signage is not required for field trips, breakfast in the classroom, and other venues where signage may be problematic. However, other methods should be used to inform students of what choices they have. USDA continues to encourage schools to offer a variety of food choices to students. This increases the likelihood that students will select the food and beverages they prefer, which increases consumption and reduces waste. However, it is important to recognize that offering a variety of choices within the food components and items is different from OVS. If choices within a food component or food items are offered, the meal planner must indicate to the student what choices or combination of choices the student may select to have a reimbursable meal. One common example for the school breakfast program is cereal types. Offering 4 different types of cereal and instructing students to select one is not the same as offering 4 grain items. Because the student can only select one, only one grain item cereal is being offered to each student, even though the student can select from several cereal options. Another useful example for the NSLP relates to the fruits or vegetable components. The menu planner may choose to offer a variety of fruit and would instruct the student to select a specific amount. If 1/2 cup portions of 4 different fruits are offered, the menu planner can indicate that the student may select up to 2 servings. This provides food choices to the student and shows the student how to select a reimbursable lunch. Although 4 different fruits are offered, since the student is instructed to select up to only 2 servings, only 2 food items are being offered. It is at the menu planner's discretion to determine if a variety is offered and how much a student may select. Menu planners have flexibility to offer more than the minimum requirements if they wish to do so and the dietary specifications are not exceeded. For example, the menu planner could offer 4 1/2 cup servings of fruit and allow the student to select 3 or even 4 servings, totaling more than the minimum required offering. This is applicable to both OVS and non-OVS situations. As a reminder, a minimum of 1/2 cup fruit or vegetable is required for every reimbursable breakfast and lunch as part of offer versus serve. There are a number of different systems used by schools to offer their students reimbursable meals. For example, a school may have a cafeteria-style service, kiosks, meals in the classroom, and vending machines. At the senior high school level, OVS is required at lunch unless the school or SFA demonstrates to the state agency that their system does not accommodate OVS. This is most common at residential child care institutions or RCCIs. Schools are strongly encouraged to modify their meal service system to incorporate OVS to the extent practicable. Schools are encouraged to use food bars and salad bars as a way to offer a wider variety of vegetables and fruits and to lower plate waste. Food and salad bars are permitted with OVS because they offer a lot of variety, which may facilitate students selecting foods they will consume. To help students and cashiers easily identify reimbursable meals from food bars, menu planners must clearly identify the food components and food items provided on the bars and the minimum serving size for each food component or food item. The menu planner must also indicate which foods and combinations of foods the students may choose to select a reimbursable meal under OVS. Cashiers must also be trained and informed daily if needed on what constitutes a reimbursable meal at the point of service. It is preferable that the food and salad bars be located before the point of service. If the food service area cannot accommodate placement before the point of service, the SFA must consult with the state agency for approval of their alternate point of service system to ensure that all students select food components and food items from the bar that meet the meal pattern and OVS requirements. If the food bar is after the point of service, the SFA must have a monitor or other means approved by the state agency to ensure that students select the components in the required serving sizes that were credited at the point of service. Pre-portioning is one method that may be used to ensure that students select an appropriate amount from those bars. For additional guidance on the use of food bars and salad bars, please refer to Policy Memo SP 31-2013, Salad Bars in the National School Lunch Program, dated March 27th of 2013. For OVS purposes, if a student can select more than the minimum daily required servings of vegetables, such as from a salad bar, the component is credited only once. For example, if a 10th grade student makes a salad with 3 cups of vegetables, she or he must still select at least 2 other components in order to have a reimbursable meal, one of which could be half of a cup of fruit. In the pandemic-aware world we now live in, please be cognizant of any Department of Health or Centers for Disease Control recommendations surrounding shared spaces, such as salad bars. Prepackaged meals are allowed at all age grade levels. For senior high schools, if this is the only system available at the NSLP, OVS for all or some components must be implemented unless the school was approved by the state agency to not implement OVS. Even with such approval, these schools are encouraged to have some food components or food items with choices and/or the option to decline, such as fruit or milk. If these meals are offered as part of breakfast in the classroom, field trips, or for students leaving the campus for work study, OVS is not required even at the senior high level. Another common finding is seen during meals at disciplinary centers or for lunch detention. All SFAs must offer all students, even those in detention, a choice for OVS where the student is allowed to make selections on a menu, or the SFA must provide the complete reimbursable meal. A 3-component detention lunch plate is not acceptable. For all age grade groups, 1 cup of fluid milk must be offered daily. It may be used as a beverage, on cereal, or used in part for each purpose. The weekly minimum amount of 5 cups of milk may be met by offering the daily minimum of 1 cup. There's also a daily requirement to offer a variety of at least 2 milk choices. For this component to be credited for OVS, the student must select at least 1 cup of fluid milk. While water must be made available to students during meal service, SFA shall not promote or offer water or other food beverages as an alternative selection to fluid milk on the meal service line. Water is not a food component nor a food item for the reimbursable meal. Although not part of a reimbursable meal, during emergencies such as the COVID-19 pandemic, potable water must still be available to students as part of the school food service. If water fountains are closed due to health and safety concerns, consider offering bottled water or other safe options. If alternative dispensing options are considered, send LDH plans for pre-approval prior to implementation. In emergency situations such as these, bottled water is considered an allowable cost. Now let's discuss menu planning while utilizing offer versus serve. Here we see the breakfast meal pattern minimum daily requirements for all age grade groups. SFAs must plan lunches and breakfasts that meet all meal pattern requirements and provide all students access to the required meal components and quantities. In addition, menus should reflect student preferences and, as much as possible, offer choices within the components. With OVS, menu planners should examine participation and selection trends to determine what and how much food to prepare. This process results in cost savings through minimizing food waste. If choices within components are offered, the menu planner must indicate what choices or combination of choices the student may select in order to have a reimbursable meal. For example, for grades 9 to 12, at least 1 cup of fruit must be offered in a reimbursable breakfast. Additionally, the menu planner may choose to offer a variety of fruit. If 1/2 cup portions of 3 different fruits are offered, the menu planner would indicate that the student may select up to 2 1/2 cup servings from any of the 3 fruit choices offered. This provides a variety of food choices to the student and shows the student how to select a reimbursable breakfast. Offering choices within components does not constitute OVS. Schools are encouraged to give students options for entrees and side items and are required to offer a variety of milk. If students are required to select every component, the SFA is not utilizing OVS. Under OVS, students must be allowed to decline components except for the required 1/2 cup serving of fruit and/or vegetable. It is up to the menu planner to determine whether students are allowed to select duplicate food items for school meals, and it is important that this information be communicated to school nutrition staff and students clearly, such as through signage or on menus. It is also recommended that the menu planner allow this practice in a consistent manner in order to minimize confusion among students and staff. It is a common finding among the state agency that the reimbursable meal poster is displayed for lunch, but the cafeteria is often missing a poster showing what constitutes a reimbursable meal for breakfast. Foods offered in reimbursable meals may also be sold a la carte. Students and cashiers need to be able to distinguish between foods considered food components or food items in a reimbursable meal and a la carte foods. If a student does not select the required food components or food items in the required quantities, the meal is not reimbursable. Therefore, the school may charge the student a la carte prices for each item selected. Schools are encouraged to give students options for entrees and side items and are required to offer a variety of milk. Training for cashiers and serving line staff is critical so they can help students select reimbursable lunches and breakfasts. For more information on requirements for a la carte and other competitive foods sold, please refer to guidance on the Smart Snack regulations. A school may offer extra foods such as ice cream or pudding which are not creditable. These foods may complement a reimbursable meal or entice students to purchase a meal. This extra food may be selected by the student in addition to the meal, but may not credit toward the minimum number of food components or food items a school is required to offer under OVS. However, these extra foods must be included in a nutrient analysis of the weekly menu to assess compliance with the dietary specifications for calories, saturated fat, sodium, and trans fat. You may also need to consider the crediting of grain-based desserts. Now let's take a closer look at the components and items requirements for breakfast and lunch. At breakfast, there are 3 components that must be offered in the serving line each day: milk, grain, and fruit. The meat alternate, and vegetable components are not part of the breakfast meal pattern. All 3 components must be available to all children who come through the serving line. At lunch, 5 components must be offered: milk, grain, fruit, vegetables, and meat alternate. Foods from each of these 5 components must be offered on the serving line every day. If the food item you were planning to serve for one component did not come in, is not finished cooking in time, or you run out while on the line, you have to make sure to put another food item from the same component on the line in its place. The components must be available to all children from the first to the last, even though not all children will take every component. If all the components are not available for every child to choose from, the school would not be able to claim reimbursement or money back for any of the meals served that day. This can add up to a big loss of money. If you work in a school that is CEP or the Community Eligibility Provision where kids eat at no charge, the United States Department of Agriculture or USDA gives your school around $3.50 for each lunch you serve. If you ran out of one of the components and did not replace it with another food item from the same component, your school would not get that $3.50 for any of the lunches served that day, even if most of them were served with all of the components available. If your school served 500 lunches that day, it would lose around $1,750. If this happened just once per month for each month of the school year, it would add up to a loss of over $17,500 for the year. As an example, if the fruit being served with lunch is a whole apple and you ran out of apples during meal service, you would have to offer some other type of fruit in its place so that all children had the opportunity to choose fruit with their lunch. Now that we've discussed food components, let's talk more about food items. A food item is a specific food that is offered to meet the component requirement. In this slide, strawberries are offered as a food item for the fruit component. Toast is the food item offered as the grain component. And fluid milk is the item offered as the milk component. Although OVS is optional at all age grade levels in the school breakfast program, many schools still utilize it at all age grade levels due to the reduced waste and cost savings. 4 food items from the 3 food components must be offered daily. Students must select at least 3 food items, and one of those selections must be at least half a cup of fruit. Vegetables may be offered to meet all or part of the fruit component. The 1 cup required quantity may be offered as more than 1 food item. 1 selection may be offered as more than 1 food item. 1 selection must be at least 1/2 cup of fruit or vegetable, or a combination of both. Extra foods are not credited for OVS, but must be counted in the dietary specifications. Double servings of components and food items are allowed for fruits or vegetables and grains, or meat alternate components. The meal pattern for breakfast consists of 3 food components. Number 1, fruits, or vegetable substitution. Number 2, grains, or optional credited meats or meat alternates. And number 3, milk. The age grade groups for breakfast are K through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12. Here we see the daily and weekly minimum requirements of the fruits, grains, and fluid milk components by age grade group for breakfast. Please note that at breakfast there are 5 age grade groups possible to use: K to 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 12, and the combined age grade groups of K to 8 or K to 12. The combined age grade groups have tighter margins, which capture the overlap in the age grade groups' meal patterns. The fruit component, which may include vegetables, is a minimum of 1 cup per day for each age grade group. The grains component, which may include meat or meat alternate, is 1 ounce equivalent per day. However, the weekly minimums vary by age grade group. This chart shows the weekly requirements for a 5-day school week. Fluid milk is also the same for each age grade group, requiring 1 cup of fluid milk from a choice of milks per day. Let's discuss the basics for OVS at breakfast. At least 4 food items must be offered. All students at any grade level must select at least 3 food items. If selected, the grains or meat alternates offered for this component and milk must be in the daily minimum required amount, and for the fruit component, the student must select at least 1/2 cup of fruit or vegetables. For example, the school may offer 1 ounce equivalent of cereal, 1/2 cup of juice, 1/2 cup of berries, and 8 ounces of milk as the 4 food items. Under OVS, the student could select cereal, milk, and 1/2 cup of juice for a reimbursable breakfast. Again, if choices of food items within components are offered, the menu planner must indicate what choices or combination of choices the student may select, including any minimum or maximum number that may be taken. For example, if 4 1/2 cup servings are offered in the fruit component, the menu planner must allow the student to select a full cup, but must also indicate that at least 1/2 cup of fruit is required for a reimbursable meal. If the menu planner chooses, under this example, the student could be allowed to take up to all 4 choices. At breakfast, in addition to the food component requirements, there are also food item requirements. Not only must each of the 3 components be offered, but 4 food items must also be offered when utilizing OVS. It is up to the person who plans the menu to determine how the food items will be offered. In this example, we have 1/2 cup of strawberries and 1/2 cup of juice to meet the 1 cup fruit component. These are each counted as an item, so we have 2 items in the fruit component. We have a 1-ounce slice of toast and 1 cup of milk. These are the other 2 food items. Therefore, in this example, we have 4 food items from 3 components. Menu planners may choose to count a 2-ounce equivalent grain food as 1 or 2 food items at breakfast. A grain item selected under OVS must be at least 1 ounce equivalent. A 1.5 ounce equivalent muffin would only count as 1 item, whereas a 2 ounce equivalent muffin could count as 2 items. Smoothies with fruit and milk are another popular combination food offered at breakfast. If there is at least 1 cup of milk and at least 1/2 cup of fruit or juice in the smoothie may count as 2 food items for purposes of OVS. A student would need to select 1 additional food item in order to have 3 total food items and a reimbursable meal. Please refer to the Policy Memo SP 40-2019 for questions and answers related to smoothies in child nutrition programs found at the link on this slide. Now let's discuss specific menu items and components that may be offered at breakfast. In this example, we have 1 whole apple, which provides 1 cup of fruit according to the Food Buying Guide. The menu planner decided to count the apple as 1 item. We have 2 slices of toast for a total of 2 ounce equivalents of grain. Each ounce of grain may count as an item, so there are 2 grain items in this example. And we have 1 cup of milk for a total of 4 food items. Here's another example. We have 1/2 cup of strawberries, which credits as 1 food item. We also have 1/2 cup of 100% fruit juice, which also credits as 1 food item. We have 1 muffin, which is a total of 2 ounce equivalents of grain. Each ounce of grain may count as an item, so there are 2 grain items in this example. We also have 1 cup of milk for a total of 5 food items. In this example, we have 1/2 cup of strawberries, which credits as 1 food item. We have 1/2 cup of juice, which also credits as 1 food item. We have 2 pieces of toast, which credits as 2 food items. And we have 1 cup of milk, which credits as 1 item. This is a total of 5 food items. In the school breakfast program, meat or meat alternate is not a required component. However, meat can be counted toward the grain component if 1 ounce of actual grain is also offered. For example, a sausage biscuit could be offered, or a slice of toast with a boiled egg, where both the grain and the meat alternate credit toward the grains component and items. For more detailed information on meal pattern requirements for both the NSLP and SBP, please refer to the meal pattern presentations. Menu planners may also offer meat alternate as an extra food and not credit it toward any of the food components or count it as a food item. If used as an extra food, the meat alternate does not credit toward the daily or weekly grains component requirement, but must still be counted toward the weekly dietary specifications. 4 food items in addition to an extra meat alternate food must be offered for OVS. If the menu planner chooses to offer a meat alternate as an extra food, staff and students must be aware that this extra food is not counted as a food item for OVS purposes, and that 3 other food items must be selected for a reimbursable meal. In this instance, the menu planner could offer the sausage biscuit, but only credit the biscuit toward the bread grain, leaving the sausage as an extra. Now we will practice applying this knowledge in a simulated point of service line. You will have 3 seconds to review each meal selection and determine which of the slides represent a reimbursable meal. We all know how quickly children pass through the point of service in a cafeteria. I'll give you a second to grab a pen and paper to write down your answers. After we go through the speed round, we will discuss the answers. For our breakfast menu, we have a whole grain 2 ounce equivalent bagel, which credits as 2 food items. We have a fresh orange, which credits as 1/2 cup and 1 food item. We have a banana, also crediting as 1/2 cup and 1 food item. And lastly, we have a variety of milk choices, crediting as 1 food item. All right, let's start the speed round. Is this meal reimbursable? Is this meal reimbursable? Is this meal reimbursable? Is this meal reimbursable? All right, let's see how you did. In this example, the child selected a bagel and an orange. This child's meal is reimbursable. It contains 3 food items, and remember that with breakfast, we are thinking in terms of items, 2 grains, and 1 fruit. This student selects a bagel and a milk. This tray is not reimbursable. Although it contains 3 food items, 2 grains, and 1 milk, it is missing the 1/2 cup of fruit. This child would need to be redirected back to the line to get 1/2 cup of fruit. This student selected a bagel, a banana, and milk. This tray is reimbursable. It contains 4 food items, which include 2 grains with the bagel, 1 fruit from the banana, and 1 milk. This student selects an orange and milk. This tray is not reimbursable because it only contains 2 food items. This child would need to return to the line to pick up at least 1 more food item. This student selected an orange, a banana, and milk. This tray would be considered reimbursable. It contains 3 food items, an orange, a banana, and milk. A food component is one of 5 food groups that comprise reimbursable lunches. These are meat alternates, grains, fruits, vegetables, and fluid milk. Schools must always offer all 5 food components in at least the minimum required quantities. A food item is a specific food offered within the 5 food components. For example, a hamburger patty on a bun is 1 food item with 2 of the 5 food components: meats, meat alternates, and grains. Separate 1/2 cup servings of peaches, applesauce, and pears are 3 food items that represent 1 component, the fruits. Under OVS at lunch, a student must take at least 3 components in the required quantities. One selection must be at least 1/2 cup total from either the fruits or the vegetables component. Depending on the planned menu, the student may need to select more than 1 food item to have the minimum quantity needed for the component to be credited. Here's an overview of menu planning at lunch. OVS is mandatory at the senior high school level, but optional below high school. 5 food components must be offered, but the number of food items may vary. At all grade levels, students must select at least 3 components, one of which must be 1/2 cup of fruit or vegetable. Fruits and vegetables are 2 separate components in the lunch program. Students must select at least a 1/2 cup of fruit or vegetables or a combined total of 1/2 cup of both. Extra foods are not credited for OVS but must be included in the dietary specifications. OVS must be available for students at senior high schools as defined by the state educational agency. OVS is optional at middle and elementary school as defined by the state educational agency. OVS is not allowed for the NSLP snack service, and OVS is optional for summer meals offered through the Seamless Summer option of the NSLP. While OVS is optional for all grade levels at breakfast, USDA requires schools that serve 9th through 12th graders to use OVS at lunch. OVS is optional at lunch for all other grade levels. However, many schools choose to use OVS with all grades. Again, components are the food groups that must be offered each day with each meal. At lunch, 5 components must be offered: milk, grain, fruit, vegetable, and meat alternate. Foods from each of these 5 components must be offered on the serving line every day. If the food item you are planning to serve for one component did not come in, is not finished cooking in time, or you run out while it's on the line, you must make sure that you put another food item from the same component on the line in its place. The components must be available to all children from the first to the last, even though not all children will take every component. As we said earlier, if all the components are not available for every child to choose from, the school would not be able to claim reimbursement or money back for any of the meals served that day. Here's an overview of the component, calorie, saturated fat, and sodium requirements for lunch by age grade groups. There are daily and weekly requirements for meat alternate, and grains. There are daily requirements for fruit, vegetables, and fluid milk. There are also calorie ranges for K to 5, 6 to 8, and 9 to 12 age grade groups. As a reminder, there is no option to do a combined K to 12 age grade group for NSLP as there is for SBP. There is some overlap, however, between K to 5 and 6 to 8 for lunch. As a reminder, this is based off of a 5-day school week. Weekly requirements are adjusted accordingly for a 4-day school week. Again, as with breakfast, the nutrition standards that include calories, saturated fat, sodium, and zero trans fat are also a part of the meal pattern requirements. A common finding is that K to 12 schools will serve K to 8 the required portions and forget that 9 to 12 has a higher requirement. This is especially an issue with the fruit and vegetable requirements being higher at lunch. Under OVS, all students at any grade level must select at least 3 of 5 food components, and for the fruit and vegetable components, one of the choices selected must be at least 1/2 cup serving of fruits or vegetables component, or a 1/2 cup total serving of both fruit and vegetable. If only 3 components are selected and 2 of these are fruit and vegetable, the student may only select the 1/2 cup portion for the fruit or vegetable. For the other 2 components, the student must select at least the minimum daily required serving of the components for them to be counted. For example, a student in 5th grade wants to select milk, 1/2 cup of fruit, and 1/2 cup of vegetable. In grades K to 5 and 6 through 8, if a student selects 1/2 cup fruit, they are selecting the full component of fruit and thus only have to select 1/2 cup of vegetable for OVS. And if grains and meat alternates and milk are selected, the student must select at least the daily 1/2 cup of fruit and/or vegetable minimum required amount. For K to 5 and 6 to 8, 3/4 cup, and for 9 to 12, 1 cup. 3 food components are required for an adequate nutritious meal for students and to warrant the federal reimbursement. Within each component, different food items may be offered, giving students many combinations for building a reimbursable meal. An important part of offer versus serve at lunch is knowing what counts as a full component. A full component is the full serving size of the component. If you look at this chart, what is the full daily serving size for the vegetable component for grades K to 8? 3/4 cup per day. What about for grades 9 through 12? A full serving of vegetables is 1 cup. If you look at the fruit component, what is the full daily serving size for grades 9 through 12? 1 cup. What about for grades K through 8? 1/2 cup. What is the minimum full component of meat for grades 9 through 12? 2 ounces. The reason this is important is that when a school allows offer versus serve and a student selects any grade and a student of any grade chooses 1/2 cup of vegetable as one component, or if a 9 through 12th grade student chooses a 1/2 cup of fruit as one component, This is not a full serving for those grade groups. Again, a full serving of vegetables is either 3/4 cup or 1 cup. A full serving of fruit for grades K to 8 is 1/2 cup. So for those grades, if a student takes 1/2 cup of fruit, that is the full serving size of the fruit component. But if a high school student takes 1/2 cup of fruit, that is not the full serving size. When a student takes 1/2 cup of fruit or vegetable, and this is not the full serving size of the component for their grade, then the other two components they choose with offer versus serve must be the full serving. We are now going to complete an OVS practice speed round for lunch. You will have 3 seconds to review each slide and determine which of the slides represent a reimbursable meal. After we go through the speed round, we will discuss the answers. Here's the planned menu for a K to 5 lunch. A turkey sandwich consisting of 1 ounce equivalent turkey, 1 ounce equivalent of cheese, 2 slices of whole wheat bread with 1/4 cup lettuce and 1/8 cup tomato, 1/2 cup of carrot sticks and 1/2 cup of apple, along with a milk choice, are offered. As a reminder, raw leafy greens credit as half of the volume served. Therefore, 1/4 cup of lettuce credits as 1/8 cup, plus the 1/8 cup of tomato yields a total of 1/4 cup vegetable crediting on the sandwich. Let's get started. Is this meal reimbursable? Is this meal reimbursable? Is this meal reimbursable? Is this meal reimbursable? Now let's see how you did. This student selects a turkey sandwich and carrot sticks. In this scenario, the meal does contain the minimum required servings of 3 full components, including 1/2 cup of fruit or vegetable. This student selected a turkey sandwich and an apple. In this scenario, the child selected the minimum required serving of 3 full components, again including at least 1/2 cup serving of fruit or vegetable. This child selected carrot sticks, an apple, and milk. In this scenario, the child selected the minimum required serving of 2 full components, the full fruit and milk component, and at least 1/2 cup of vegetable. This student selected a turkey sandwich and a milk. This meal is not considered reimbursable under offer versus serve. The student selected the minimum of 3 full components. However, 1/2 cup of fruit or vegetable is not included. If a student does not select at least 1/2 cup serving total of fruits and or vegetables, the lunch is not reimbursable even if he or she has 3 other components, such as meat alternate, grains, and milk. Cashiers should allow these students to select fruits or vegetables from the serving line or have these items available at the point of service. If the student still does not select a 1/2 cup serving of fruits and or vegetables, the meal is not reimbursable. The school may charge the student a la carte prices for the food selected. Now we see a planned menu for grades 6 to 8. It includes 1/2 cup of whole grain rich pasta, which credits as 1 ounce equivalent of grain. This comes with meat sauce that credits as 1.5 ounces of meat and 1/4 cup of red orange vegetable. A whole grain roll crediting as 1 ounce equivalent. A romaine garden salad with a volume of 1.5 cups, which credits as 3/4 cup of dark green vegetables. 1/2 cup of fruit is offered, along with a milk choice. Okay, let's go through the speed round. Is this meal reimbursable? 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 Okay, let's see how you did. This student selected spaghetti with meat sauce and milk. In this scenario, the student selected 3 full components: grains, meat, and milk. However, the meal is missing the 1/2 cup fruit or vegetable component, since the tomato sauce only credits as 1/4 cup. This meal is not reimbursable. The student would need to be redirected to select at least 1/4 cup more of fruit or vegetable to be added to the 1/4 cup of red sauce. This student selected spaghetti with meat sauce and a salad. In this scenario, the meal contains the minimum required serving of 3 components: grains, meat, and vegetables. This student selected spaghetti with meat sauce and a roll. In this scenario, the student selected the minimum required serving of 2 full components for grains and meat, but is missing at least 1/2 cup requirement for fruit or vegetables. Again, the student should be redirected to get the minimum required serving of fruit or vegetables. This student selected a salad, fruit, and milk. This student selected 3 full components: vegetables, milk, and fruit. This meal is reimbursable. This student selected the roll, fruit, and milk. This meal also contains 3 full components: grains, fruit, and milk, making this meal reimbursable. Now let's take a look at a lunch menu for high school students in grades 9 through 12. We have cheese pizza with 2-ounce equivalents of meat alternate, 2-ounce equivalents of grain, 1 cup of vegetables from 1/2 cup of broccoli florets and 1/2 cup of corn. 1 cup of fruit is offered between 1/2 cup of cantaloupe wedges and 1/2 cup of red grapes. There's also a milk choice available. Now let's start our speed round. Is this meal reimbursable? 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 All right, let's see how you did. In this scenario, the student selected pizza and milk. This is not a reimbursable meal. While it does contain the minimum required serving of 3 full components, meat alternate, grains, and milk, it is missing at least 1/2 cup of fruit or vegetable. This student selected pizza, broccoli, and milk. This meal is reimbursable because it contains the minimum required servings of 3 full components, meat alternate, grains, and milk, and includes at least 1/2 cup of vegetables. This student selected pizza and fruit. This meal selection is reimbursable because it contains 3 components: 2 full components of meat alternate and grains, and at least 1/2 cup of fruit. This student selected pizza and cantaloupe. This meal is reimbursable because it contains 3 components: 2 full components of meat alternate and grain, and at least 1/2 cup of fruit. This student selected pizza and corn. Like the previous example, we have 3 components selected: the full component of meat alternate and grains, and at least 1/2 cup of vegetable. This student selected broccoli, grapes, and cantaloupe. This meal is not reimbursable because it only contains 1 full component of fruit and 1/2 cup of vegetable. This student would need to select another whole component to make this meal reimbursable. This student selected grapes, cantaloupe, and milk. This meal is not reimbursable because it only contains 2 full components of milk and fruit. The student would either need to select another component to add to the tray or add 1/2 cup of vegetables to make this meal reimbursable. This student selected grapes, corn, and milk. This is only 1 full component for milk, which means that this meal is not reimbursable. If only 3 components are selected and 2 of these are fruit and vegetable, the student may only select the 1/2 cup portion for the fruit or the vegetable. For the other 2 components, the student must select at least the minimum daily required serving of the components for them to be counted. The student would either need to select an additional 1/2 cup of fruit or vegetable or another full component to make this meal reimbursable. Now let's discuss some questions and answers. Number 1, how should the serving lines be set up to assist students with making the correct choices for OVS at lunch? Although all the foods that are part of the reimbursable meal do not have to be adjacent to each other, they must be labeled, listed, or otherwise identified near or at the beginning of the serving line so that students can easily choose all of the food components or food items for a reimbursable meal. If some of the food components or food items offered in reimbursable meals, such as the fruits and vegetables, are offered beyond the point of service, the school must ensure that students are aware that every reimbursable meal must include at least 1/2 cup of a fruit and or vegetables. Number 2, since a 1/2 cup of fruit or vegetable is required under offer versus serve for a reimbursable meal, how can schools handle situations when a student refuses to take a fruit or a vegetable at lunch? Our goal is for schools to provide each student a complete reimbursable meal daily. To help accomplish this goal, schools are required to identify the content of the daily reimbursable meal. If a student refuses to take the required 1/2 cup of fruits and or vegetables under OVS, his or her meal is not reimbursable, and the school or SFA has discretion in how to handle this situation. The school or SFA must have a policy in place regarding a student's selection of incomplete meals and notify parents and households about such policy. If the school's policy is not to serve non-reimbursable meals and not to offer other food options, this policy must be communicated to students and parents or guardians in advance. The following are options for the school or SFA. Offer the foods for purchase a la carte, and any student who has the money either in hand or in his or her account may purchase food a la carte, or allow the student to take the food free of charge and not claim it for reimbursement. In the instance, the school food service account must cover the cost of the food offered free of charge. Number 3, can pre-bagged meals be offered when breakfast is offered in the classroom and OVS is in place? Yes, if a school participates in OVS at breakfast and offers breakfast where some or all of the components are bundled together, the operator should attempt to the extent possible to offer choices such as fruit baskets aside from the pre-bagged items. However, there is no requirement that all possible combinations of choices be made available to the student. Number 4, can a student select a large piece of fruit, large enough to credit for 1 cup, and milk for a reimbursable breakfast? Yes, foods that are offered in large enough quantities can credit as 2 food items. Therefore, an apple that is equivalent to at least 1 cup can credit as 2 food items. This practice is at the discretion of the menu planner and must be clearly communicated to staff and students to minimize confusion and ensure students are selecting reimbursable meals. In this example, the apple plus milk would result in 3 food items selected for a reimbursable breakfast for OVS. Number 5, for lunch, may students take a smaller portion of both fruits and vegetables under OVS? Students must select at least 1/2 cup of either the fruits or the vegetable components, or a 1/2 cup combination of both components, such as 1/4 cup of fruit and 1/4 cup of vegetable for a reimbursable meal. If a student selects only 3 components, and 2 of these 3 components are fruits and vegetables, the student may select 1/2 cup of either the fruit or the vegetable, but then must select the minimum daily required serving of the other component. For example, if a student in grades 9 through 12 selects milk, fruit, and vegetables, the student may take 1/2 cup of the vegetable, but also must take the full 1 cup offering of the fruit. However, if the student selects another full component, such as a grain or meat alternates, the student may take a smaller portion of the fruit because the fruit is no longer being counted as the third component in the reimbursable meal. As always, if you have any questions, please contact the Louisiana Department of Education Division of Nutrition Support at 225-342-9661, or you can email us at childnutritionprograms@la.gov. Thank you for joining us for this Offer versus Serve presentation.